The house that money can't buy. Well, not regular money anyway, because a mansion in Notting Hill has been put up for sale, but the owners will only accept bids that are made in Bitcoin.
It ain't going cheap, though. They want the equivalent of £17 million. Here's our technology correspondent, Tom Cheshire.
In the early days of Bitcoin, the digital currency was the favourite of hackers, libertarians and anarchists, and used to buy drugs and guns on the dark web. It still is, but it can also now buy you a Notting Hill mansion like this one. The sellers are only accepting bids in Bitcoin, around 5,000 of them, or £17 million. So let's go through the keyhole into the house of Bitcoin and tell the story of its past and its possible future. Bitcoin was released in 2009 by the elusive Satoshi Nakamoto. John Matonis worked with Satoshi and says that his breakthrough was to solve one problem in particular.
The double spending problem is when you have digital currencies and the holder of that digital currency can spend it multiple times without the recipient knowing that it hadn't already been previously spent.
Blockchain is the system that underpins Bitcoin. It works because every computer that makes up the Bitcoin network keeps track of every Bitcoin transaction in the world, making sure everyone's honest. That gives Bitcoin a fundamental role in a new economy. As a result, investors piled in, driving the value of Bitcoin up from mere pennies to thousands of pounds. In terms of tracking the value of Bitcoin, ordering takeaway pizza isn't a bad reference.
In 2010, someone paid 10,000 Bitcoins to get 2 pizzas just like this one. Pretty tasty. But what's more tasty, at 5,000 Bitcoins per pizza, that amount of Bitcoin could now buy you this entire house.
That extraordinary rise in value, though, makes some think the good times can't last forever, and that the currency could be heading down the drain.
I think regulators should be worried. It is not just the wealthy and the rich investing in these things. We're seeing celebrities endorse some of these projects. We're seeing ordinary people invest some of their income, some of their savings into these projects. And when it goes bust, those people are going to get hurt.
The tricky thing about a bubble, if Bitcoin is indeed a bubble, is knowing when it's going to burst. For the time being, the house of Bitcoin is standing firm. Tom Cheshire, Sky News.
OK, it all looks very nice, it all looks very, very expensive, but I still do not really know what Bitcoin actually is. David Birch does, and he's here. Good morning.
Morning.
We've heard about it being talked for years and years and years now, but I still can't get my head around quite what it is and how it works.
Well, look, the central idea of it is you have money that's being created by essentially mathematical puzzles, rather than somebody else like the Bank of England. So, when you make pound notes, it's the government that does it, and they set the value of the pound and blah, blah, blah. And so what these guys came up with, which, by the way, is a sensationally clever idea and is going to be the basis of amazing new things in the future, was this idea where if you can solve these kind of puzzles, and they're a particular kind of puzzle that it's really difficult to solve the puzzle, which is why you have all these people all over the world mining the Bitcoins, right? Because they're all looking for these puzzles. But once you've found the answer, it's really easy for other people to check that it's right. And that's the core of the thing, right? So you construct this money from these puzzles, but the money is just bits now, right? Just on the internet. And you can send it around all over the internet. Now, the idea that that money is going to replace pounds and things in the short term anyway, I think is pretty unlikely. But it is an interesting window into some new futures in financial services and money in general.
Why on earth would the owners decide that they wanted only bids in Bitcoin rather than in hard cash? I mean, presumably if you've got it in Bitcoins, then you can only spend the money in Bitcoins once you've recouped it. So
well,
you're kind of reducing your opportunities.
I know a lot more about mathematical puzzles than I do about North London real estate. But if I had a mansion in North London that I couldn't shift and I put it up for Bitcoin, that's genius. I mean, the PR people behind it. It's on every news channel. It's in every newspaper this morning.
The kind of marketing that £17 million can't buy you.
I've got to take my hat off to them. Because, like, in reality, first of all, if you had Bitcoins, right, and you're going to buy that house with them, the first thing those people are going to do is take those Bitcoins and turn them back into pounds or dollars or whatever it is anyway. So, the idea that they're going to keep it, I'm sceptical about this. Does it mean something else? I think it does. It means that the Bitcoin is kind of breaking through into the mainstream and people are beginning to see, you know what, maybe there's other ways money could work in the future. And it might not necessarily be this exactly, But since the crash, people are beginning to think, does the way things work now, is that like a law of nature that's going to last forever?
But
and I think what this says is no.
But isn't part of the issue with Bitcoin is that the value fluctuates so much and so quickly?
Well, that's true now. I mean, you could argue that, well, in the long run, if everybody was using it, that kind of would stabilise. I'm unconvinced about that personally. But I don't think that's an argument against it in the long run. That's how it is now. In the long run, my personal suspicion is that you're going to have lots more kinds of money than you have now. Because of the internet and decentralisation, because the technology means anybody can create money, you'll have lots of different kinds of money.
And so that's your personal suspicion. What about your personal finances? Are you a Bitcoin man yourself?
Well, I did bring some because I thought it might be such I've left it behind thing.
Oh, no.
I've got my little USB stick with my Bitcoins on. That's the only way I could think of making it tangible. I've actually forgotten the password, so I don't...
This is the problem with these things.
Like
Give me a £10 note any day.
Sorry, tell me, though, what is the benefit? Because when I think about internet money, I'm thinking about, you know, pushing money via PayPal or whatever now, which is, so it's never money, you never see it, you never have...
Look,
what's the difference? can't quite get my head around the difference between that and dealing in Bitcoin.
Well, there's two things that you've got to separate. So one is the mechanism and the other one is the currency itself. So when I pay you by PayPal or faster payments, or I do my ping it or whatever, it goes through the bank. That conceptually means the bank could stop it if they didn't like us or what you were doing, or they could spy on it or whatever, the Bitcoin people would say. You know, with Bitcoin, there's nothing in the middle, right? So I have my Bitcoins, I email them to you or I post them, or whatever I do with it. There's nobody in the middle, so that's one thing. The other thing is the currency. So, you know, you could come up with new ways of sending money around which didn't have the bank in the middle, but still used pounds and dollars. In fact, in Swindon, city of the future, back in 1995, this is a long time before you were born, they tried that with Mondex, with NatWest Bank, and, you know, it never really caught on, but you could do it. So you have to separate the technology of Bitcoin, which is going to lead to some amazing new financial services and markets and so on. It's a little different thing from the currency. Are you going to use that technology to create something amazing and new in currency? Well, the answer to that is probably yes too, but a bit further downstream.
Ooh, fascinating times ahead then. David, good to talk to you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
So much.